Gone. Action. Jai Shriman Narayan. Thank you
Jai Shriman Narayan, Mataji. My obeisances to you. My obeisances to you, and thank you for inviting me.
Good, good. So today we are going to talk about the meaning of surrendering in Bhakti. Right?
Yes, Mataji, and the reason for this is I hear a lot of this term. I hear a lot of this. I hear a lot of this term being used. Oh, a surrendered soul, surrendering to Krishna. I come across this term a lot, and what I wanted to understand is that what does this term mean? How do we surrender? Is it a sudden process? Is it a gradual process? What are the symptoms of surrender that people talk about? What is a surrendered soul? How do we relate it to Shastra? And many of us come from this. Many of us may come from an Abrahamic projection of what surrender means, which is a man bowing in front of Jesus and saying,
in front of anyone else, truly, more than Jesus, to the representatives of
yes, and you hear God. This, or you see a monk. Or you see a monk in prayer. So what I wanted to understand, Mataji, is what is the true meaning of surrender, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Thanks. So surrender is one of the important parts of the devotional, the Bhakti tradition, that is generally called PRAPATTI or ASHRAYA. Sharanam. It's also, we find it also in other dharmic traditions, such as Buddhism, for example. Basically, surrender means giving up attachment and identification. Material attachment and material identification. Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karnani sarvasah ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. Translation, all the activities, all the actions are performed by material, by Shakti, by Maya, in the material world, by the material energy, and on the spiritual level by the transcendental energy, spiritual energy. But a person who is confused by ahankara, by the sense of identification with the material elements, thinks, foolishly thinks, I am the cause of the action. Now, we know that there is a usefulness, a proper meaning to the idea of the identity or the role that we play in the material world. But it is much like the role that an actor plays in a theater piece. Because an actor can play so many characters. But the real identity of the actor is usually not evident, not seen clearly, easily. In the same way, we are the Atman. But the Atman cannot be seen by material eyes, by ordinary senses. What we see ordinarily is a material body, which has identifications and attachments, if we want, because attachments come from identifications. So, I and mine, ahankara, aham mama. Now, surrender means abandoning the attachment to these identifications and possessions, belongings, because we know that these material identifications and attachments are temporary anyway. So it is attachment and identification that creates the suffering in this world, because we get what we don't want and we don't get what we want. It's a typical raga and dvesha, attachment and repulsion. Surrender means we know that God has a plan. Then there is a better plan that we can understand, and we cannot control everything. So surrendering means, okay, I trust that God has a better plan. In modern parlance, we could say a proactive attitude, a positive outlook, a positive view of the universe. You see that the universe is following the eternal laws, the superior laws, a superior plan, an intelligent design. So we trust that whatever happens can be a blessing, even if it may appear to be a loss. This is what the Gita says, that a realized soul is samekritva labha labho jaya jaya. It's equally peaceful, serene, not attached either to gain or loss, or victory or defeat, honor and dishonor. There is another pearl of popular wisdom that says that each problem can be an opportunity. It all depends on how we see things, how we face the situations and things that happen to us. One example that I like to make, for example, just for our ordinary lives, I don't know if you like ice cream, or
Yes, gelato.
Yeah, gelato. Gelato is a particular type of ice cream, but we all generally, most people like ice cream when the weather is hot.
Yes, that's when you see.
Yeah. But when we are very cold, if someone gives us a lot of ice cream to eat, we are not happy. And in the same way, we like the comfort of warmth, like warm clothes and warm blanket, in the winter when it's cold, the weather is cold. But if someone is giving us, warm, heavy clothes and a warm blanket in the middle of the summer when we are suffering due to the heat, we don't like it. Right? This is why Krishna is saying, Sukha Dukkha is coming. Sitoshna Sukha Dukkha. Sita Ushna. Sita the cold, Ushna is the hot, heat. Sukha Dukkha. It's a happiness and distress, pleasure and suffering. Because it's not the pleasure and suffering, the happiness and distress are not caused by any particular event or thing, but by our perspective on it. Even when we encounter some objectively negative event, like I don't know, we get our house is destroyed. Okay, It's not that you can, oh yeah, I'm so happy my house was destroyed. No, but you can try to see what is the opportunity that this is giving you. At a minimum level, it gives us the opportunity to develop some detachment. You know, to see who is our real friend and who is not. To, you know, start in a different direction. Because we don't have to give up anything because we lost it anyway. So, okay, let's start in a different direction, in a different way. Surrender means having this type of approach because we trust God and we know that what the universe is sending us is just what we need. Maybe not what we want, but what we need. So, again, as you were very correctly saying, most people, when they speak, you know, we speak about surrender, they picture, you know, submission, humiliation, exploitation, defeat. You know, when someone surrenders, it means they accept that they have been defeated. But this is not the bhakti meaning. Because of the very simple fact that God is not going to mistreat us or exploit us or make us suffer, because God is not selfish. He's not interested in exploiting us. In fact, the opposite. Because if we surrender to God, we will be able to see that God is giving us special opportunities. Is that clear?
Mataji, this is much more clear. There's a few sort of areas that I'd like you to talk about in what you've said, if that's okay. The first is you mentioned surrender as being almost like a component of bhakti. Could you just context? I know we covered this last time, but could you just tell me what the other key parts are, just so that I can frame that in my thinking, if that's okay?
Yeah, well, the famous description of the 9 forms of devotion, the Navadha Bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Dasyam, Archanam, Vandanam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. These are all the ways in which we relate to God in the process of devotion, in the attitude of devotion. Surrender is a part of this, because if we surrender, it just means that we have a positive attitude, a favorable attitude. It is like, for example, when we do Shravanam Kirtanam, okay, we talk and we hear, we listen, and we talk, we speak. We can do it favorably or unfavorably. When you hear about someone or you speak about someone, you know, you can do it favorably or unfavorably, right?
Yes, absolutely.
It's not necessarily favorable, you know, smarana also. You can remember someone, you know, that you don't like, and you just, you know, I don't like that person. Now, surrender means that we decide that we want to like it. We make the choice of accepting favorably You understand?
Yes, absolutely. This is what I wanted to understand, where the linkage was. So, in it, what you're saying is surrender is part of the remembrance, the smaranam, so to
Yeah,
speak.
it's a part of the entire relationship, all the parts of the manifestations of bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Bandhanam. You know, we can do all these activities in a better attitude, in a better mode, in a positive approach. Because we can tell.
No, this is absolutely right. So, Mataji, this you've actually led quite nicely to this to the second question, which is that sometimes, Mataji, people, criticism recently of modern teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. I'm sad to say, and that's come from certain areas, is that it's almost taught like a self-help book, like a how to survive the corporate world through the Bhagavad Gita. You've come across this many times. How to survive a day in the office with through the Bhagavad Gita. So here, Mataji, you're talking about surrender as a state of mind.
Yeah.
How is that different from the self-help Bhagavad Gita culture that we are getting? Is it because, Mataji, you are taking us more? Are you surrendering us more to the Atman first, or how is that working, basically?
Okay. The problem here is the sense of duality that Krishna in Bhagavad Gita is clearly explaining that it is due to illusion. Not only there are lots of people who are trying to use Bhagavad Gita to, improve their material life, or they use yoga to improve their health. But I have, often heard people saying that they use a mantra, they use a deity to get some specific benefits, material benefits. And this is delusional. We need to have this feeling of surrender, this attitude of surrender, this attitude of recognizing that we are part of Brahman. The I and mine, me and mine, are delusional. If we put our material, limited, dualistic identification in the center of our universe, then we'll try to use God. We'll try to use Bhagavad Gita, we'll try to use yoga, we'll try to use this and that. But that's delusional, because we cannot use God. We may get the idea that we are using, but it's not going to give us the results that we want. Because it's just not right. It doesn't work like that. When we meditate on God, we receive the blessings in the sense that we develop our potential of the same qualities of God. We don't treat God as our service provider. We are servants. It's not that God is our servant or an instrument. Unfortunately, we have gone through a lot of, very materialistic religions that have been used by bad people to control the population, control the public, to exploit and control. But that's not spirituality. Real spirituality, real transcendence, real divinity, God, is not limited, is not sectarian, is not dualistic. God is everything that exists. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. What is Brahman? Brahman is everything that exists. Krishna says that everything exists, rests on me, like Sutramani Ganaya, like jewels on a necklace, pearls on a thread. What does that mean? It means that God is not separated from us or from anything else. Brahman is everything together. We are all Atman, we are all parts of Brahman. Is that, do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, 100%, Mataji.
Perfect.
And I think, that was really good. That was absolutely clear. So, Mataji, this is really important because in this world, there is sometimes a perception that we approach God realization directly by approaching God. But the nuance, I guess, here is that Atman, the realization that we are Atman, is fundamental.
Yeah, it's a preliminary step because, Vishwajit, if we think we are approaching God, but we have no idea what God is, what are we approaching?
This is my point, Mataji, because one area that I went wrong many, many years is I thought that to realize God, I found it very, very hard to even get on the first step because I did not understand the nature of Atman and the importance of Atman Tattva, the importance of realization of Atman. So perhaps you could talk a little bit about that as to how that is important.
This is the first step.
As a fundamental step.
Yeah, it's the first and fundamental step. And in fact, if you read the Bhagavad Gita, it starts with that. The teachings that Krishna gives to Arjuna and to us, because Arjuna is just, there to help us, to play the part of the student, But the first teaching is that, okay, what is the Atman? What is the difference between the Kshetra and the Kshetragya? We are not the material body. That's the most important thing. If we don't understand that, if we don't realize that, we will be completely unable to realize God, to even imagine what God is. Because we will project our material conception, our material limitations, our material ideas, identifications on God. Just make it bigger. So we'll believe that God is limited. God is sectarian. God is something and not something else. But all the Shastras are saying very clearly that God is beyond that, beyond duality. That you find that in Bhagavad Gita, you find that in the Upanishads, you find that in the Vedanta Sutra. God is one. But not one because my God is bigger than your God, so my God is the one and your God is stupid. Is a lesser God. The idea of a lesser God is a contradiction in terms, an oxymoron. Like say dry water. There is no such thing as dry water. So the point is, if we cannot understand, if we don't realize transcendence, our idea of God will be materialistic, non-transcendental.
So Mataji, this is exactly where I want to go next and ask you. People talk about transcendence. It's a very popular word these days.
Sure.
And we have this idea of transcendence being which it is a really wonderful state, but does transcendence, is that inherently linked to surrender, Mataji, and Atman realization?
Transcendence, okay, yeah, it is linked in the sense that the verb to transcend means, the meaning of the word, okay? It means go beyond, right? But go beyond what?
Yes.
When you say transcendence, transcendental, basically it means beyond limitations, beyond non-existence. Sat asat. You remember in Gita there is a verse that says that the wise people have analyzed the sat and asat. They say nasato vidyate. What is asat does not exist. But what is sat can never cease to exist. So when we say transcendence, we mean beyond the limitations, beyond time, space, duality, individuality. That is the transcendence. We transcend the material identifications. What are material identifications? Material identifications are the negative part of life. Means I am this, it means I'm not that. Like I am a man, I'm not a woman. I am rich, so I'm not poor. I am, but the point is, this is not a fact, because all these are very relative, temporary, and very nuanced definitions. And we can see it now, even in culture and society. The difference between men and women is disappearing. The difference between rich and poor is disappearing. In fact, there is no difference. If you go on a deeper level, there is no difference, because Atman is all Atman, is all Brahman. So this is why God is everything, omnipresent.
So, Mataji, with that in mind, and it's interesting you've touched on that. This really important topic is, it's an offshoot of that. You've touched on rich and poor. You've touched on various other things. How should we view hierarchy in Sanatana Dharma?
This is interesting. There is no hierarchy.
What does it mean? Is there hierarchy? What is hierarchy? How should we view hierarchy?
Hierarchy is a material construct. Let me go with the dictionary, okay? Because I always like hierarchy. Here it is. I always like to go by that. So, the definition from the Oxford Language Dictionary is a hierarchy, is a system which members of an organization or society are ranked according to relative status or authority. Now, here is there, regarding society. Now, let's start from the material level. In society, there is no hierarchy, just like there is no such thing in the body. We talk about the social body. The Purusha Sukta in the Rig Veda, other Samhitas as well, is describing human society as the body of the Virat Rupa, Virat Purusha. So can we say that the head has a higher status than the hands?
No, but a person can survive without a hand, but can't survive without his head being chopped off.
Yeah, but but this is not a difference in status. It's not a difference in authority. It's it's a difference in function, not in position. I don't know if
almost like Varna.
It's exactly like Varna. The Brahmanas have authority and position, but only because of their function. Not because, ontologically they are better. On the transcendental level. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because there's no point the world being full of brahmanas if you're no one's there to actually build the houses.
No. In Satya Yuga, everyone is a brahmana. In Satya Yuga, everybody is a brahmana. In Treta Yuga, because there is no need for defending anyone, because everybody is completely competent to do everything.
So, on that note, Mataji, should we not, how do we view this term hierarchy in the sense that we see the Devas and the Devis in Sanatana Dharma, and then we have Shri Krishna, Mahadeva? Is there not a...
It's not about hierarchy. It's Krishna, all the Devas and Devis are parts of the body of Krishna, of Vishnu.
Indeed. Now it makes sense because they're part and parcel of Shri
Exactly.
Krishna. So the hierarchical structure does not apply.
Exactly.
It's
about the function.
In the material sense, it does not apply.
It does not apply. It's about the function. It's a functional difference. You cannot compare the part to the whole. But the part is part of the whole, so it's not separate. It's not independent. This confusion comes to the dominant culture in which people who have a higher position or status or authority are exploiting the ones under them. But this does not apply to the Vedic approach. Because, for example, at some point it's exactly the opposite. Like, we know the Brahmanas are, in the Vedic society, in the Varna system, are supposed to be the most humble, the most detached and renounced people. The most gentle, the most selfless people. What does that mean? What is the hierarchy there?
No, absolutely. The concept of hierarchy doesn't apply here because it's about function. It's about functions, specific functions within a society, which different people have, isn't it? Basically, that's the Varna system in essence.
That's why I'm saying it's very difficult to superimpose. It doesn't work to superimpose concepts that that appear to be similar, but they're not. It's like we superimpose different images, and what we get is a monster. And we think that's a real thing, but it's not.
So, in Sanatana Dharma, you have Lord Indra. Okay.
Well, I want to stop you right away because that's not Sanatana Dharma. We need to understand what is the meaning of Sanatana Dharma.
Yes.
There is a difference between Sanatana Dharma, Vedic knowledge, and Hinduism. There are three different things. They, of course, are compatible in the sense that the Vedic knowledge is a scientific explanation of Sanatana Dharma with all the practical applications, and Hinduism is supposed to be based on Sanatana Dharma and Vedic knowledge. But we know that, it's a lot about opinions today. So, we cannot use indifferently the three terms. So, Indra is not about the Sanatana Dharma. The story of Indra, all the descriptions in the Vedic text, is not about Sanatana Dharma. The principle of royalty is Sanatana Dharma. That we call the principle of royalty, we call it Indra.
So, with that, Mataji, Indra is not. Indra was not at the same station as Shri Krishna. I mean, if you look at what happened, Indra. Indra committed an offence against Shri Krishna. Therefore, and we know about that. He had to sort of concede that. Does that not imply some form of hierarchy where Indra had to sort of apologize and he was wrong? Does that not imply some? I mean, I'm asking the question. Does that story not imply that there is some form of hierarchy? I'm just asking the question.
I understand. I'm not going to bite your head off, But it is not a fact. The fact that Indra is a limb of the body of the Parambrahman.
Yes, that makes complete sense.
The Devas are described as the limbs of the body of the Parambrahman. And if you see the iconography of the Vishwarupa, you see all the Devas there. So, it's not that Krishna has a higher position as an individual who has a higher position compared to other individuals. When we speak about hierarchy, we speak about individuals who have different positions compared to each other. It's like a ladder. But Krishna is, Krishna is a complete ladder. It is the ladder, the stairs, and the whole house.
Yes, that makes complete sense.
So, Indra is confused because he thinks he is independent.
Understood, Mataji.
When Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, those who worship the devas can attain their purpose very quickly, but if they do it with thinking that the devas are independent, and they worship the devas to get some material benefit, they're worshipping me, the Param Brahman, but without the proper knowledge. So the translation that says that those who worship the demigods, are confused because worshipping the demigods means that you have material desires. So if you worship the devas, it means that you have material desires. No, if you worship the devas because you have material desires, you're confused. But Krishna never says, don't worship the devas. In fact, Krishna says in the 3rd chapter of Gita, those who do not worship the devas are thieves. They make bad karma. You remember that?
Yes, absolutely. He's very, very clear in chapter 3 that, if you take those things from the devas, you are literally...
Yeah, who doesn't?
Yes.
Who doesn't take anything from the devas? Please, give me an example of anyone. Because who doesn't take, the blessings of Surya? Who doesn't take the blessings of Vayu?
So Mataji, on that note, okay, we've talked about Indra here, and we've sort of absolutely dismantled what is hierarchy here. But let's say I have a tiger in front of me, Mataji, yeah? That tiger is, if that tiger is in front of me, I can't sit with that tiger and discuss the Bhagavad Gita, can I? The tiger's not going to come and eat.
Well, yeah,
right? So my
not
point
really.
Is, well, I might, yeah. But my point is that there are some. If I
there is a difference. That is a functional difference. You remember that other very interesting verse of Gita said, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Hasini Suni Cheva Swapakecha Pandita Samadarshinaha. Well, it doesn't mean that the Pandita, who has a Vidya, thinks that he wants milk, he's going to milk the Brahmana, or he's going, he's going to ask for religious instructions from a dog. But that doesn't mean that he sees them all equally. That is the equal ontologically, but functionally, of course, there are so many differences functionally. Again, the one limb of the body cannot do everything, they cannot act as the entire body. Because we are anuaga, we are infinitesimal, we are all small, the devas are jivas. When we say we are all God, we are Brahman, yeah, okay, but not individually. We are not the Supreme Brahman individually. Each one of us, no, we are part of the Supreme Brahman. So Indra is the expression of the divine concept, we can say ontological concept or archetype of royalty, regality, the kingship. It's a principle. So the jiva who is playing the role of Indra, plays that role. Personifies that concept. Like, the archetype of the mother. You have a mother because everybody who has been born has a mother. you know. But your mother who gave you birth is not the sum total of the entire mother archetype. You know, you respect and love her as mother because you love the archetype of the mother, the role that she has played as the mother archetype for you. But that doesn't mean that your mother is the entire, you know, concept of motherhood that ever existed. You understand?
Yes, absolutely. This is now, this makes perfect sense. It's just that obviously I was brought up with the idea that a tiger, you know, eats, sleeps, mating and defending, those 4 attributes. Yeah. Whereas the tiger isn't at a level of consciousness whereby they are able to discern what is truth and what is not truth. They just want to eat, sleep.
Wait. The tiger, blueprint of the tiger, the tigerness, if we want to say that, you know, you want to call it like that. The tigerness is a level of consciousness. So that jiva, yes, who has the body of a tiger, is playing that role of that level of consciousness. And the consciousness of the tiger is not very developed. It's not very, you know, manifested spiritually.
Yes. 100%. So therefore, could hierarchy not imply the level of consciousness of an individual being? With some beings being very highly conscious, spiritually conscious, with a high developed level.
Yeah, when we talk about individuals, but not ontologically.
Not ontologically.
So you cannot make a comparison between Indra and Krishna.
No, Mataji, what I'm saying is, let's say you come across a very learned Brahmana, not a Brahmin, a Brahmana.
Yeah.
Not a caste Brahmin, I'm talking about a Brahmana. Let's say you come across a learned Brahmana sitting there who discusses Shastra with you, etc., and is very, very humble and learned. That person is at a very high level of consciousness.
Yeah.
Whereas if you come across some slouching couch potato who basically
some uncivilized human being.
Eats pizza. Whenever he's hungry, he raids the fridge.
Tamasic person.
Yeah, who's at a lower level of consciousness. Is the level of consciousness not a form of hierarchy, Matsuchi? Not ontologically. I'm talking about. I'm not as Atman.
Yeah, well, it depends on what you mean by hierarchy, because, you know, Chanakya Pandit very famously taught that we should be able to get good advice even from an idiot. We should not see just the body. We should not see just the role. We should see beyond that. And that's the whole point of identification and attachment.
Indeed, therefore, can I ask you, then, if you should see beyond more the body, then surely, how do you discern what is good and evil? Because let's say, hypothetically, I look at some mass murderer who chopped a load of innocent people's heads off. Oh, but this person isn't the body. This person's Atman. Okay, I grant that. But they're under an Atman under significant illusion. But is there not a difference between that person on a hierarchical level?
It's a temporary and superficial difference. You probably, I think you know about Valmiki Rishi.
Yes.
Oh, Valmiki was just that type of person. He was a highway robber, and he was killing a lot of people just like that. He was a mass murderer. I mean, you know, he was killing people just to, you know, rob them, and, you know, that's how he lived. It was normal. That's why when Narada was instructing him to chant the name of Ram, he said, no, I cannot chant the name of God. You know, I can, the most I can chant the name of death, because I've been the servant of death all my life. You know, so Narada told him to chant the name of Mara, which is practically the two syllables, Ram and Mara. You know, practically, you know, he started to do that. But that's because Valmiki Rishi was a serial killer. You know, he lived by death. He was a robber. He was killing a lot of people just to, you know, rob them. That is the description of the degraded person you were talking about. And he became a very great rishi. Because each human being has a potential. It's all a matter of choice. You know, and don't think that Valmiki he decided to become a rishi and, you know, snap. He just became a rishi on the spot.
Yes, but this is, but Mataji, how does this?
Oh, you switched your mic off. You closed your microphone.
Between, because if
I can't really hear you.
Can you hear me, Mataji?
Yeah, better.
Can you hear me?
Tell.
Oh, can you hear me now, Mataji? Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. No, you're gone. I can see you close your microphone.
How does society discern? Can you not hear me?
Well,
can you hear me now, Mataji?
Yeah. How can society make a difference? Discern. Yeah, by the behavior, by function.
In the sense that for a society to function, yes. No, but Mataji, there's good and evil people in society. Evil people,
not absolutely.
Evil people need to be punished. Good people need to be rewarded. Good people need to be rewarded. Surely you would agree that a paedophile needs to be punished, and good people need to be rewarded. He needs
to be corrected.
Yes,
the karma will punish him. He needs to be corrected, and you know he needs to be stopped, not punished. There is a difference between stopping the aggressor and punishing the aggressor. Because if you start with the idea of punishing, then you can decide you punish everything, even stuff that is not a real crime. You punish people because they don't, think, they don't believe what you want them to believe. You don't, in the Vedic system, there is a concept of self-defense. Only the aggressors can be killed, and on the spot. Not that you go after someone who, is not doing anything. Just because you think he's a killer. You understand?
Yes, I do.
And if you are not able to fight back and kill the aggressor, then the Kshatriya has to do it for you. But that is defensive. It is not a punishment.
Yes, I understand.
It's a very big difference. Now, of course, if the criminal, gets scared and runs away, okay, you can run after the criminal because he's not surrendering. He's not saying, okay, no, I'm sorry, I will not do it again. He's just, he's just avoiding, But even if he escapes, karma is going to get him. Oops. Okay. Okay, so it looks like we had a technical difficulty. So the line fell. So I think we can close here. We can start again in next meeting. Jai Jagannath.